Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. This one for June the 1st, 2023. I'm Paul Lathrop. I am the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today, Mike Piwowarski, fresh off the rundown. He also does Arms Room Radio. Mike, thanks for coming along today, man.
Always a pleasure to be here, Paul, with you and the folks, the fine folks there at Second Amendment Foundation. How's your week been so far?
Man, it's for me personally, it's been a very challenging week. Side note, I do not know whether there will be a show tomorrow or not. We've had we've had a loss in the family, and
Yeah.
I don't know if I know there will be a show on Saturday. I do not know about tomorrow for sure yet, and I won't know until after 8 o'clock tonight Central Time. So, uh,
We,
I hope
we
there's a,
understand, and we're all there for you, Paul. You do what you got to do, and you know you've got our support.
yes, sir. Well, let me state as we get started. Then, if you're watching on the Polite Society Facebook, YouTube, or Facebook page, my brain is melting down. You can comment on those live videos and get your comments on the air. Those are pretty much the only ones my broadcast software picks up right now and lets me put on the screen. I will check others throughout the broadcast to see if we've got comments elsewhere. But your best bet to get your comment on the air is the Facebook or YouTube channel. Let's go ahead and get into it, Mike. To start with, I want to read an essay or part of an SAF release here. A federal judge has clarified the scope of an injunction in a Second Amendment Foundation challenge to the Biden administration's new arm race rule. Cases known as SAF et al. Versus ATF et al. SAF is joined in the case by Rainier Arms LLC and two private citizens. In her prior order granting the preliminary injunction, U.S. District Judge Jane J. Boyle wrote, "The court grants in part the motion and issues a preliminary injunction as to the plaintiffs in this case only, leaving in questions whether the injunction applied to the members of SAF. Late yesterday, SAF filed a motion to clarify the scope of the injunction. Today, and this being yesterday, I got this actually as we were on the air yesterday. Judge Boyle clarified the prior order with a new order in a docket entry which stated the court confirms that its preliminary injunction order applies to both the Second Amendment Foundation and its members. The SAF has received numerous inquiries from individuals as to whether the injunction covered our members, said SAF Executive Director Adam Kraut. Our attorney had attempted to reach an understanding with the government as to the scope of the injunction and the coverage of our members. When it became apparent that the parties were not seeing eye to eye on the matter, despite the Fifth Circuit's clarification on another case on this exact point, we've asked the court for clarification." And it goes, look, Mike, I'm sure you would agree with me on this. If you're not a member of the SAF, why not? I mean, come on. It's $150 for a lifetime membership, $15 for 1 year.
Yeah, you just make this happen. Obviously, the 150 lifetime is a great deal. You're not going to get anything else lifetime for $150. But if you can't, you still get out there and make that donation. Make that donation. Become a member. Do it with this organization. Do it with the Fifth Circuit case with Fires Policy Coalition. Do it with both. Do it with both. And listen, just go on there and make yourself a donation. Become a lifetime member if you have the opportunity to, and get your butts covered. Get your butts covered. Paul, we talked about this last week. We knew that this was applying. It was incrementally. Remember, we found out it was applying to all the members of these organizations, past or present or future, but we didn't know if it applied to beyond the district, and now we know it does. So get out there and join this and protect yourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And to all of you who may be watching, who may not be a member of the Second Amendment Foundation and may happen to own a pistol brace, well, welcome to you felons as well. Although I don't believe they should be felons, but the ATF being is what it is. do want to get into that. We start with that. That was good news, especially for SAF members. And by the way, just to be fair, there was a ruling that Firearms Policy Coalition members and I believe GOA members are exempted as well. So, yeah, different courts, but they all came through rather rapid fire over the course of a couple days. So,
be safe about it, folks. Spend the $15 and become an SAF member, because I know there's affiliations that SAF has with many of the state organizations. Just go $15. You know, they'd love to see the $150 annual or lifetime, but $15 covers you. Get it done. Okay.
Absolutely, and you know, you'd have to be pretty destitute not to afford $15. Are there people that can't afford it? Yeah, I'm sure there are. But if you could afford 10 boxes of ammo, knock back on a box, kick into SAF. Let's get this comment in here real quick. And nope, software is not working with me. Michael over on the Facebook side says we're winning so far one piece at a time, just like the old Johnny Cash song. So
that's it.
I'm going to try here real fast to fix this and then find out why we are not I'm
going to tap on the keys like I'm doing something to help.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let me try that. That might, yeah, there it goes. It's still not coming in there very clear. I'll have to do some more work on that. But at any rate, let's go to our next story. And another good news story, and I'm going to very simply paraphrase this story. I don't do so good at reading, so I'm not going to read as much as I can. Louisiana looks like it may actually become state number 28 for permitless carry. 2 years ago, it got through the legislature. They sent it to the governor. Governor John Bell Edwards vetoed it. They lost the governor override by one vote. This year, it's going through again, but it looks like they've got the votes to override the veto. They may actually become number 28 this year, Mike.
I mean, I can't think of another state that's any more rural out there and enjoys the southern the living, or whether it's I'd say outdoor living, and enjoys the traditions of hunting and fishing and everything else outdoors. Why they wouldn't be able to just have their firearms on them? Why they couldn't have a constitutional carry? I don't know. I understand that there's dilemma in the cities, but again, remember, folks, nobody's saying we're going to give guns to criminals. This simply says you don't have to pay to exercise your constitutional right if you're qualified to carry that firearm.
That's exactly right. And in all constitutional states, all constitutional carry or permitless carry states, you have to be able to possess a firearm to legally carry it. So, and I sincerely hope they do pass it. It will get vetoed again, but I sincerely hope they do have the votes to override.
Sounds like they got the veto-proof vote there, so that should be good. Yeah.
Next one, next story we got, Masada Yu was speaking at a pretrial conference in Portland on Thursday in preparation for a scheduled 5-day federal court battle to determine the constitutionality of Oregon's gun control measure 114 that passed last fall. His quote from there is, "On principle, I don't see supporting a law I know the criminals will never obey." I totally agree with Mass on that one, and Mike, I would say that's a good basis for getting rid of all firearm-specific laws.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we understand that. We were just touched on it a moment ago. If if the criminal is the criminal is the criminal. The criminal does not care about the law. The criminal is going to do what they want to. Guess what reason we have for carrying firearms? Those of us that are law-abiding, because the criminal doesn't care. Those that have been punished, those that have been sentenced, those that have been convicted, those that are back still free on the street, not allowed to carry firearms. They are out there. I want to protect myself, my family from them, from a foreign invasion, from a rogue government, from a deer wearing a Kevlar vest. All right, whatever I choose to is what I choose to. But I know that criminals are going to continue to break the law, which is the reason there shouldn't be a law that says I can't carry a gun. Because if I ban all guns, Paul, right, then criminals won't carry guns. It's a crock. It's a crock from day one.
It's absolutely, as our friend Amanda Suffolk would say, it's a crock of cheese.
That's it. Yep.
Let me get a couple comments in here. One going back to our last story about Louisiana. John Petrolino says it's where you go for the outdoors.
There you go.
And
there
for podcast listeners, that's GEAUX.
It's where you go.
Yes. And then YouTube side, and we're finally getting comments in from YouTube side. Black bear, coyotes, mountain lions, spiders too don't abide by our laws. That's by Jesus Wins, Bird of Michigan. And I would say there are other tools for killing spiders. I don't want to come up against a spider I need a firearm for.
Well, I want fire for sure, to kill the spider.
Yeah. Oh, it's that nuke it from space. It's the only way to be certain. Yes.
That's the best way.
And one more from Michael over on the Facebook side. He says, we can't stop DWIs by taking away our cars. Well, you can stop people that don't drink and drive from getting DUIs by doing that.
Right.
But, yeah.
Right. I actually saw one earlier today that was about abortion. I don't know if you saw this one. It came out. It said a woman was arguing, if we outlaw abortions, women are still going to get them. And it's just not going to be safe. And the guy said, well, let's talk about guns.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, let's be absolutely, totally honest here. Would I be... I would still defend myself if I could not have a firearm. There would be tire irons. There would be all kinds of stuff. I'd have bow and arrow all throughout my house. I would have all kinds of things.
Narwhal horns.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd have a narwhal horn, yep.
But none of them are as effective or as safe as a firearm is.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. You ever sit on a narwhal horn wrong, you know what I'm talking about. Yep.
Ooh!
Yeah.
Okay. Hey. Let's go on to our next story.
Yep.
Hunter Biden could soon find him. This is off of Politico.com. Hunter Biden could soon find himself in a surprising position at the cutting edge of the fight to strengthen the Second Amendment. The president's son is the target of a Justice Department investigation scrutinizing his purchase of a gun in 2018, a time when he said he was regularly using crack cocaine. Federal law bans drug users from owning guns. But the constitutionality of that law, like many other provisions restricting gun ownership, is newly in question after a precedent-rocking decision the Supreme Court handed down almost a year ago. And his lawyers, meaning Hunter Biden's lawyers, have already told Justice Department officials that if their client is charged with the gun crime, they will challenge the law under the Second Amendment, according to a person familiar with the private discussions granted anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly. Mike, who knew that Hunter Biden would become a Second Amendment advocate?
Listen, Hunter Biden doesn't know much. He doesn't know where he is today, and at least he's not falling down like his father does every day. But there's a couple of key points in this story, and we hit them both. And the people that are watching this and kind of take these words and take it for granted. The two key words there you mentioned were we're using the firearm and ownership of the firearm, and they want to. It's almost like interchangeable when they're talking about these. It's two completely different meanings, and also very completely different from state to state and on the national level. Let's say, Paul, I'm a medical marijuana user in my state, right? Am I using medical marijuana? Or yes, okay. Let's give that as a granted, right? We know that I'm using. Where's my firearm? Is it on my body? Is it in my person? Is it within my control? That's using my firearm. If I know that, Paul, listen, I got glaucoma. I smoked the weed because they gave it to me, and I know I'm doing that, so I lock my gun in my safe. That's where my gun stays. I keep it in there because I'm not using it. It's just like if I were going out drinking. I'm not going to take my gun with me. It's the same case. How can you tell me I can't own something as opposed to using it? All right, I'm in no danger. I've done my own physical threat assessment, if you want to, and said I'm not carrying it. I'm going to be using narcotics. I'm going to be using, OxyContin for my back injury, whatever it happens to be. And you say I'm not carrying that firearm. I put it in my safe. There's a huge difference between owning and using a firearm while under the influence of a narcotic or alcohol or drug regimen. So I think it's great, though. I love to see that the irony of Hunter Biden here becoming the poster child for this. This is going to be great. At least this will be a poster with hopefully with his clothes on and not laying there
and without a crack pipe hanging out of his mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I want to get a comment in here real fast. Foolish liberals who are trying to amend the Second Amendment of the Constitution by claiming it's not an individual right or that it's too much of a public safety hazard don't see the danger in the big picture. They're courting disaster by encouraging others to use the same means to eliminate portions of the Constitution they don't like. Alan Dershowitz. Michael's the one that put that one up there. Michael, hang on. We got a story coming up in 2 stories that I might bring your comment back for. So, but yeah, that's going to directly relate here in a couple stories.
So a little side comment, folks. For the behind the scenes, you see us with Paul and I next to each other in the background, and we've got a bunch of little buttons and screens that float in between. Like I get a second screen so I can see myself. Paul's got his screen. I can control view and size. Well, I keep my screens tucked off to the corner on the bottom so I can focus on what Paul and I are doing. And when that comment came up for feedback, Michael's name was blocked, and all I saw is where it said Alan Dershowitz. And I'm like, are you kidding? Alan Dershowitz is commenting on our show? That's amazing. And then I went over and looked a little closer and realized, nope, I need to leave the weed alone, I guess. I don't do. It was a joke. It's a joke.
Okay. All right. Well, let's and speaking about weed, this one off ValleyNewsLive.com, which is a Fargo, North Dakota, by the way, quite literally on the border with Minnesota. Valley News is located in Fargo, and it's right on the border, on the Minnesota border. And the story came up today. Until recreational cannabis is federally legalized, marijuana users cannot legally own or use guns. Minnesota House Representative Marion O'Neill recently pointed out some underlying challenges with the new Minnesota medical marijuana bill. Say that 5 times fast.
Right.
There are cases going through the federal courts right now about whether or not it's unconstitutional to remove someone's Second Amendment rights because they've been found in possession of marijuana, O'Neill said. The Bureau of ATF clarifies that regardless of the recent Minnesota law, someone who is currently using marijuana is still federally defined as an unlawful user of a controlled substance. If you are found in possession of marijuana, you absolutely should use, doggone it, if you are found in possession of marijuana, you should absolutely lose your Second Amendment rights. That is what the Biden administration is saying right now, said O'Neill. Well, and relating back to our last story, that all depends on what happens with Hunter Biden.
Yeah, exactly right. Folks, what it says on the 4473, the application though for background check when you purchase a firearm, the question is, are you an unlawful user of or addicted to marijuana or any depressant. By the way, alcohol is a depressant. Note. Stimulant, narcotic drug, or any other controlled substance. Warning: the use or possession of marijuana remains unlawful under federal law, regardless of whether it has been legalized or decriminalized for medicinal or recreational purposes in the state where you reside. So you know what we're talking about. The other point with this, though, Paul, is this is the ATF that's created a form that the law is very strict. It says a couple of things, right? It says can't be an unlawful user, can't be a domestic violence abuser, can't be a convicted criminal, can't be dishonorably discharged. Well, the ATF has gone through there, and tell me if you've seen this before, and decided they're going to word this however they want to word this to make you answer the way they want you to answer.
Yeah.
This is not what the law says. This is how the ATF has interpreted the law and put it into a questionnaire. So let's add that little tidbit to this as well.
I would expect, and I believe me, I don't have a perfect crystal ball, but the crystal ball I do have says the ATF is going to continue getting smaller and smaller and smaller in the very near future.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. It could go. I just to spend a couple minutes on it, talking about drug use at the state level. Mm-hmm. I know the comment came up down here. We had our former, she was our Secretary of Agriculture. She went and got a medical marijuana prescription card, and people wanted to fight her and say she could not also have a concealed weapons permit. Well, in this state anyway, if you have a concealed weapons permit, it doesn't necessarily mean you even own a gun. It just means you took the test and passed it. I know some states they assign the guns to the cards, like where John Petrolino is. He was just making comments. New Jersey, right. That's all assigned to the card. In Florida, it is not. Many states, it is not. And if you're in one of the 27 constitutional carry states, it wouldn't apply at all, right? And if you have the medical marijuana card, the prescription card, Paul, you and I are about the same age. When's the last time you got a prescription from a doctor and you decided, I don't need this. What is he talking about? Or I've already got some at home. I'm not going to fill this prescription. Just because you have the card doesn't mean you possess the narcotic.
Speaking directly to your question, about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So yeah.
There's a lot of space for interpretation here, rather than, again, possess and use are the same thing. You can't own a gun if you do your drugs. Well, why? I'm not taking my gun out and shooting people in the street while I'm high. It's the same principle here. It's at the state level now. If the state says, listen, it's legal, you're not filling out a state background check form. You're filling out a federal background check form. You got to pay attention to their rules. Now, is there leeway in there for an attorney to go fight and say, what the hell are they talking about? This is not what the statute says. This is what their application says. Sure. But we're both going to tell you, don't go out and break the law. Don't lie on a 4473, because that's the quickest way to get on the ATF's radar and lose your gun rights completely without appeal, and you never get them back.
I totally and absolutely agree. Also, right now, again, considering it's June 1st and the deadline was yesterday, I wouldn't go take your AR pistol with a pistol brace on it to the range today. I wouldn't do that. Am I going to tell you to totally disassemble and all that? Yeah, that's your call. But I wouldn't be going out to the range today and say, hey, look what I got. And oh, by the way, it's got a binary trigger, and boy, is this thing sweet, rat-a-tat-a-tat-a-tat.
Yep. I would tell you what to do. Listen, when you decide it is time to take it out and exercise it and show it some daylight, the same way you would a Class 3 firearm. You keep that paperwork with the firearm at arm's reach. I would print off the front page of that ruling from the SAF case and your copy of your SAF donation or membership, and you keep it in with that firearm the same way you would Class 3 paperwork. That way anybody that is ignorant of the law and doesn't understand it, you can go, here you go, take this, put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Yeah. I want to get a few comments in here before we get to our last story. Michael over on the Facebook side says, you'll also get red flagged if you're prescribed psychological drugs.
There you go.
He's not wrong on that. They're one of the things I worry about myself is there have been times since my stroke I have had emotional issues. I avoided going to see somebody professionally to get help simply because even though I live in a free state, I don't want somebody to say, look, he's going to see a shrink. He obviously doesn't need any of his Second Amendment rights. He's a danger to himself or others because he went to see a shrink. There is that fear there, and we've got to do something to take that fear away, man.
It's everywhere, Paul. It's personal health like you're dealing with. It's a huge issue for the military, right? With the suicides. These are supposed to be, the toughest people on the planet and war fighters, but they feel bad because they watch some little kid get blown up, and they don't want to go see a therapist about it because they don't want to get labeled as soft. And boom, now they went and got labeled as soft. They lost their job. They lost their firearms. It's the same all around. It's the stigma of, helping yourself. If your leg was bleeding out, you wouldn't go, you know what? I'm tough. I'm going to let it bleed out and die. You would get medical assistance. Listen, if you need to talk to somebody, you need to see somebody right now. Get up and walk away from this monitor and go find them. Call the number. Call an 800 number. Do whatever you have to do. Get assistance. Nobody wants to see you or anybody else harmed. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I know it's tough. I'd rather fight for your gun rights back later than not have your life.
Amen. Let me get a couple more comments in here. Spartan 6 on the YouTube side says, hopefully in the near future the ATF becomes a TF only. I think Spartan 6, what you're looking for is the AT.
Yeah,
because that's alcohol, tobacco. And then he says, and then just the T and is gone altogether. Yeah, you know what? ATF, the old joke goes, and I agree with it. ATF, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, should be a convenience store, not a government agency.
Yep.
And even with the explosives, why the heck can't I go buy C4 if I want to go remove a tree stump?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I was talking with, Paul, maybe it was you. I got to remember who I'm telling stories to. We were watching the Steve Dettelbach interview where Matt Gaetz was tearing him apart, and he clearly didn't know anything about firearms. And I got asked, how did the guy get this job? I said, well, maybe he knows a lot about alcohol and tobacco. I mean, maybe he's I don't want to throw the guy under the bus already. Maybe he knows a good cigar and a nice bourbon. I don't know.
There you go. Well, yeah. And the thing with the tobacco, speaking as a tobacco user, I don't think there's anybody on the planet that doesn't know, if they're a smoker, that smoking is bad for you.
Right.
Why in the world do we need a government agency controlling this other than to collect taxes?
Yeah. Listen, first off, I think that Steve Dettelbach is probably the worst director I've seen of anything. I'm making a joke about the alcohol and tobacco part, but yeah, Paul, I mean, how many federal agencies do we have to watch the same thing, right? Okay, we want to make sure they're not putting weird, addictive, cancer-causing chemicals inside the tobacco. And how many people do we need for that? We need OSHA for that. We need ATF for that. We need state level. How many people do we need for that? Why do we have the ATF?
We need to make sure they're not putting cancer-causing cigarettes into something that's proven to cause cancer.
That's right. Exactly right. Save the white mice.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, one more from Michael. I got to get this one in. ATF, all this foolishness.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, we are going to run just a little bit over time, folks. I want to get this last story in. From New Jersey, amid a mounting debate in America over the constitutionality of gun control, Cardinal Joseph Tobin of Newark has entered the fray with a different argument, that people should voluntarily forego their Second Amendment rights for the betterment of society. I honestly believe this is the best thing we can do to change a culture of violence that threatens us today, Tobin said. Let's voluntarily set aside our rights in order to witness the truth that only peace and never violence is the way to build a free society that is lived concretely in our homes, our neighborhoods, our communities, our nation, and our world. I kind of titled this one, New Jersey Catholic Cardinal wants you to give up your Second Amendment freedoms so you can get to heaven faster.
I saw that. Yeah. You know, this just reeks of New Jersey, right? This story. You could close your eyes and picture another season of The Sopranos based just on this guy's comments. You could see the politician going to the bishop here saying, "Listen, I know you want more room for your church to put up a new pavilion in the back, but I'm worried about gun control in town here. I need you to come out on my side, and then I'll make sure you get your permits." You know, this sounds like that. You know, Padre Father, stay out of the politics side. Okay, all right. Go administer to your flock. You know, take care of them. But Paul, this one just. I mean, I think it would take 5 minutes of me doing a court search to find out that there's some connections here that shouldn't be connected, and this is somebody helping somebody else get an agenda through.
Yeah. John Petrolino says he needs to stick to his wine and bread. Maybe he's had a little bit too much of that wine. It's possible.
That's it.
And I can hear in my ears, what do you guys need with firearms anyway?
Yeah. John Petrolino, he's there in New Jersey. He knows what I'm talking about. This could be a new HBO drama, you know.
Good one from Spartan 6. In certain areas of the southern United States, you can purchase illegal moonshine. Why does the ATF think they can stop illegal gun purchases if they can't stop moonshine? They can't stop fentanyl, okay? They can't stop cocaine, crack, any of that stuff.
People come across the border.
Yeah.
They can't stop that, you know.
So, yeah, prohibition of any type has never, ever worked and never, ever will. Michael, we are way out of time, man. On the way out, could I ask you to plug Arms Room Radio and plug the Rundown, man?
Rundown.us, any place you can get a podcast, you can watch us there 6 p.m. Eastern during the week. And then, of course, Arms Room Radio, been at it 9 years now, 9 years, armsroomradio.com. Saturdays 3 to 5 p.m. Tune in there to see where we're playing, or just listen to us on the simulcast.
All right, very cool. On my side, that does it for today. As I said earlier in their show, there may not. Tomorrow's scheduled to be the Legal Bullet with Alex Uli. A lot more to come tomorrow. If there is a show, there's a lot more to come about the pistol brace ruling. Alex and I have already been talking about that. So, there will be a Saturday evening broadcast of the Bullet, 7 p.m. Central Time, the only time zone that matters. Do please come join us for one or both of those. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Podcast listeners, thank you for listening. We'll see you.